Welcome to Anecdotes for Success with Matt and Paul. Storytelling is an art form, emphasizing the value and learning that is created through personal experience. Our purpose is to share these stories and experiences with the listener. Everyone has a powerful testimony. Let's use them to level up to our best life with truth, meaning, trade-offs, and perspective.
Big shout out to Isaac Mather for the new podcast intro. You can check Isaac's music out on all socials or directly at isaacmathermusic.com. Matt, episode 99. So how do we get a guest to come on before the huge live episode next week, right? That's like putting somebody in for Michael Jordan and subbing him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or what is it like? Opening for a great comedian,
or maybe
isn't it the comedians who have good openers before them who ruin it for them? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna say it's probably the other way around. Nobody will remember episode 100. That's gonna be a blast. Question for you, because we were just talking a minute ago, and luckily I remember to hit record. Do you ever come across people that just aren't happy, no matter what you say? I had a tweet about what an awesome program I think I have in education, where the kids get college credits and leave school for half the day, and we really have no rules, and we create things, we build things. They've started businesses. I have 2 other kids with businesses this year. They open brokerage accounts sometimes. But some guy got caught up on the fact I said they leave school to do internships. And he accused me of preaching the 10th plank of Marxism. And we got laughing because we had to look it up. And I said, well, they get college credits. And then he goes, well, you're still supporting Marxism, and I would never hire a college graduate because they're worthless and overpriced and lazy. I'm like, wow. So I just liked it and moved on. I'm not going to argue anymore. But I thought that was funny.
In fairness, he did say, well, there are some exceptions.
But they're less and less.
To cover himself on that. Yeah, I mean, I think that it was funny. We have been laughing about it because it just doesn't. Number one, it doesn't resonate with what your class is doing. I haven't not seen any sickles and hammers in your classroom when I've been in there, but I do think it's interesting that there are people just take the negative, and in that social media in so many ways. Nothing. There's always an opportunity to complain, and as you know, that's why I've distanced myself from it so much and don't participate on certain things. Now, as you would agree, that comes with a trade-off, right? What are the number of people you've been able to build relationships with and encounter and have on our podcast because of your showing up on social media, whereas I've avoided it. But I guess the other side of the coin is you get people who, hey, look, how about this, Paul? There's always that, everyone should have a voice, right? And I certainly believe everyone does have a voice. But some voices are on certain topics are more credible than others, right? It's like everyone should have a voice, but if I'm going to decide whether to get heart surgery or not, I'd prefer certain voices to rise to the top and other voices to be, I wouldn't say silence because I don't believe in that, but I'm not interested in anybody else's opinion. So
you wouldn't take my opinion, is what you're saying.
On heart surgery, I would not, and I wouldn't expect you to take mine.
So you're not going to believe what I did, after I commented with the credits, and then he commented back that I'm still supporting Marxism. You're not going to believe what I did. I just liked it, and I scrolled on.
Moved on, yeah.
I thought about it. It's tempting. I always hear Joe Rogan talk about how he just reads stuff but doesn't comment. I mean, I can't even imagine what would happen anytime he commented.
Oh boy.
But I wanted to say, well, you're welcome to come visit my class sometime. But then I'm like, well, what if they're like, I really don't want them to visit my class. And like, it's human nature. I wanted to get one more jab in,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
there would have been another jab on his part. So I just walked away. And if he comments again, I won't even like that. I'll just walk away. Like it's just, it's human nature. And if we were having if we were at a coffee house and I met that guy and he asked what I did, he wouldn't accuse me of Marxism, not face
Not a
to face.
chance.
He
Not a
would have asked more about the class, and then I would have talked more about it, and we would have exchanged phone information and went about our way and probably been friends.
You know what, Paul? Let's give it the worst scenario, like where he says the worst case scenario would have been he would have said, you know what, that sounds a lot alike. It sounds a lot alike. Marx's, what did you say, 10th? What was the word?
Plank.
Plank. I gotta
Like
remember that. I like that.
it's a game of Cubert or Donkey Kong or something,
Plank.
Jeez.
And you would have been, oh, really? What does that mean? What? And he'd say, well, this is what it is. And you'd say, well, you know what? Here's what it, and then there would have been clarification and there's nuance and all these things. And what would have happened is exactly what you said would have happened. You would have walked away and said, I had a really interesting conversation with a guy today at a coffee shop. And it wouldn't have been adversarial. It would have.
I never thought about it from his perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But
yeah.
No.
Right. Right.
And I've learned, I mean, my presence is growing on some of the social media platforms, and the good and the bad come together. I mean, that's the trade-off, and the yin and the yang. And a lot of times you get those comments from the people that are new or hardly have any followers, because like I was telling you with said person before, the more confrontational you are, it's like the algorithms feed that. They want that. And it really makes me wonder, like, why is everybody so divided? I see why. Like I was gonna get in a fight over a guy I'd probably like if we met in person. Like it's so weird, So.
Paul, that I don't think I think it's an interesting conversation. Why are we so divided, and why are things so divisive? And I think from what little I've read on it, I have read some, but it hasn't been enough. It seems to all point to social media and when that's really taken off, and the timeline behind that. And of course, it wasn't invented for that. It wasn't that I'm sure that was not the desire of anyone who was in the heyday, the spawning of some of this stuff. But that's certainly what it's become, and it's again, it's why I don't participate, but or very little. But it has so much good, right? I mean, just look at the relationships that we've created and with people, and you in particular, and the people we get to talk to and communicate with, and or not even talk to or communicate with, just hear from and get educated from, and agree or disagree with, which is great. But man, the yang to that yin, or the yin to that yang, is it is negative, and it's people are they're addicted to it, and it comes with great trade-offs.
It really does. And it's such fabulous way to meet people anywhere in the world and go visit anywhere in the world, like we had with Digital Nomad Kieran. But most people waste it and squander it on just like the human drama and gossip. And it's funny, I think whatever you're prone to do, then that's how you describe social media. Like I hear more people say, I can't be on that Twitter. I'm not going. That's just drama and hate and politics. Well, that's probably what you're clicking. That's why you're getting it. You can block those things. Yep. And then I have other people, I can't be on Facebook. It's just people showing pictures of their food for dinner every night, bragging about their kids. And I'm like, well, I don't mind people bragging about their kids because I miss some of those people. The food, I just scroll through and I don't get food pics anymore. Like so it makes you think your echo chamber, your little world is what it is for everybody out there. It's so powerful, such a powerful tool to have. So I won't back down. I've had a couple circumstances where people have DM'd me or said some pretty ruthless things to me, and it's built character, and it's put some calluses on me where I don't worry about it because the benefits more than the
Yeah.
the bad stuff. But it still hurts. But I get better at ignoring the noise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of course, and I think there's strategies behind that as well, and there's a lot of learning going on. It hasn't been around that long, and my guess in another, I don't think it's going away, that's for certain.
No,
So
no.
I'm guessing in that another 20, 30, 50 years, there'll probably be some dramatic changes to it that may make it more positive, but at the same time, I'm all about having your opportunity to say what you want to say and that kind of thing. And you can always block people and or mute people or whatever. Different platforms have different options, but those things as well. But everything's got its trade off, and the opportunities it's presented are enormous, but it comes with downside.
Yeah, and you know what? If people aren't physically harming me, which a stranger from a trillion miles away or wherever they are probably won't. I mean, uh, I've learned it makes me happier if I just understand they don't hate me. They don't even know
Oh,
me.
right.
They
There's
just
something going on.
there's just something they're battling, and I really think to myself, you know what? God bless. Like I hope they work it out, and I hope they have a more fulfilling life from this point on. Like I hope you don't get your fix and your high every night by just bashing everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be sad.
I
That would.
mean, that's speaking of that, our friend Cam's coming into town. My class, my Marxist policies, we've raised 10,000 plus dollars from local corporations and businesses. Of course, it's not for the kids. It's to pay a speaker and all his expenses and donate some to charity. But I always like what he says. He spends no time lowering other people. He just leaves them alone or he lifts them up. Like there's why lower anybody? And that came from personal experience. But I'm excited to have him in town. I know you're going to see him.
He's such an interesting and not just fascinating but inspiring person, and he's one of those guys when you're around him there's an energy there, right? That you just there's certain people exude that, and I'm not sure what it is. I wouldn't I I guess I would call it like it's like genuine. Is the word
Yep.
genuineness a real word? So it's like he's
It is
just
for people like us. Yeah.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So it's a genuineness he brings to the table that you just, he's not full of it. You know what I mean? He's not pretending, when he talks to you, he's engaged, he's present. Great, great qualities and qualities that I think, I would say, of course, kids could learn from, but you and I can learn from it. I'm sure I know I can. And he's just one of those people that when he's in the room, he's in the room kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I mean that as a very sincere compliment with him. He just brings some kind of energy and presence to the table. And I look forward to seeing him.
Well, a couple of things. The kids had meetings, and we don't call them sponsorship meetings anymore. They're partnership meetings. We learned that you redesign it, and we have a marquee sponsor that we guaranteed X amount to, and then several sub sponsors. I think five in all. But one of the things the kids promised is they're going to get each place gets an autographed picture of Cam on an engraved plaque. And we have a Glowforge in our room, so we can make those engraved plaques. But
Really?
yeah, we're gonna drive Cam around to each of the corporate headquarters and just have them be Cam in front of their logo, their sign,
Okay,
and,
cool.
and then have them autograph it. And then we have the corporate meet and greet. It's at a local bar and grill. I mean,
Yep.
sometimes the sponsors come, sometimes they don't. They can get a picture with them. The kids think it's a way to reward themselves for dinner and all their hard work, but it's a networking event, but we can't help it if people don't come or not. And then the best part is he's in all the schools speaking, and then hopefully Monday night I'll go out to dinner like we do. And I just his conversations are pretty good. He's a pretty articulate young
Oh,
man compared to us, and he really makes me think. Like I'll say something and he just twisted on me. Not because he's disagreeing, because he's one of the most present people I've ever been around.
Me too. Me too. And right. And I like the fact that Cam's not yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, just so agreeable that he can really take your temperature on what you're really thinking, right? And what you really believe. And I think all of us could do, and you do it in a right way. It's not a criticism. It's a have you thought about, and he may completely agree with you. And it's what that personality trait is really interesting, and those are fun people to be around who make you question what you think you believe, right? Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I can name 5 things off the top of my head that today I I think differently than 10 years ago. If you would ask me what I believed on the particular topic, I would have had a different answer. And that only comes from talking to people and reading and having some thought and being challenged, whether it's by yourself or other people. And Cam's got a way of doing that.
It's going to be so much fun. He took my phone call today about something, and I could tell it was the first time he wasn't quite paying attention. And as soon as I got done, he goes, "Sorry, I didn't want to be rude, but I'm walking on stage in like 30 seconds." I'm like, "Damn." I respect it. You didn't have to call me, or you didn't have to take my phone call. I'm impressed. I'm blessed, but a lot of
You know,
fun.
now
The
I feel
kids,
bad because you called me a couple times today and I didn't pick up. And I
yeah, and
wasn't even
you weren't
I
ready
wasn't
to
even
go
go,
on stage.
I wasn't even going on stage.
Now I figure I'm good for one out of every four times I call you, and I'm blessed with that, Matt. That's good.
I,
You
I,
know,
I was on Zoom calls all day today, but I digress. I interrupted you only because I
no,
thought
no,
that.
no. But you know what I like? Even in our relationship, we don't really leave messages ever. I just call you, and I either text you later, or it's really not that important and I figure it out. It, th- that's just the way it is. There's no offense or anything taken when someone can't answer the phone when I call. But
Yeah,
it's funny. That's the only way we used to be able to contact somebody.
yeah.
And I'm like, why isn't he picking up? There's no damn busy signal. Come on. And then it was, there's call waiting. He can just click and say, "Hey, I'm here."
Remember the game changer that was.
Yeah. And now you're on Zooms, and apparently you can't answer a phone on a Zoom call.
Yeah. Well, how does it get any better than this? Right? Like, what's the next technological step? Like, getting zoomed into the same room together. I feel like we're a long way away from that.
I feel like I feel like everything I heard someone tell me once, everything you see in a movie will really happen someday because someone's thought of it. Now it's just a question of making it happen.
Make it
Like
happen.
like like I could see the holograms, like where Princess Leia's like, "Help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope."
Yeah,
But I
those
have
are
a
happening.
hard time thinking I can demolecularize myself, and I know that's not a word,
Right.
and get zapped like on Star Trek and go to another planet. Like I have a hard time thinking that's going to happen. But
But yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you can 3D print food technically with chemicals.
right, right.
So, there's side of
Yeah,
me as cool as that would be. I almost don't know if I want to see that stuff. That just means I'm getting old though.
maybe so, maybe so. But well, the technology's coming, and I had some interesting conversations this week and last week about AI, and that you want to talk about the biggest game changer in our lifetime. Um, that's I mean, I think without a doubt that's what that is. And I don't know where that goes. I have some I've I've some thoughts on it, and I know other people obviously have thoughts on it. And forget the danger part, the fact that it might just, take over and make us all, subservient to it, and then we've got to deal with that. That would be rough. But the just you know the amount of jobs it could impact in a short period of time is what concerns me, and just from a societal standpoint.
Yeah, but it's interesting. They thought it would be all these uh lower wage manual
Yeah,
jobs. And right now it's a lot of creating, marketing. I
yeah,
mean, how do animators ever keep a job at Disney or Hollywood or something like that? Right? it's kind of gone in the other from the other direction, if that makes sense.
It has. It has. It was the whole idea was it was going to be robots that were, you know, on the grill making food and doing jobs, relatively unskilled labor, right? Was
Right,
was
right.
was was the idea, and what it's instead the real threats are in the creative areas, the the arts, I know people who do digital ads and those kinds of things, and I've seen some stuff it can do, and it's I've been in the presence of people in those industries looking at the stuff it can do, and it makes them very uncomfortable, and I understand why.
And then on the other hand, I have kids that in my class they get 6 college credits for English, and now the teacher's having them write their papers by hand in the classroom now
Oh boy, is that right?
instead of typing them. Because
Right.
and then they have plagiarism software, obviously, like
Yep.
Turnitin and stuff like that. Apparently they're developing AI stuff. I don't know how, but
No, I've heard that. I've heard they've got some good stuff actually that they've done, but it's always a race, right? Then it's like theft. There's always a race between the those who are trying to get away with someone and those who are trying to, I guess, protect it, or however you want to look at it.
yeah, and she was thinking about doing a project where she lets them do a paper with AI and then bring it in the classroom, and then they have to research everything and explain everything in it.
Oh, hey,
I mean,
that's a neat idea.
yeah, like I learned a long time ago with the phones, there's no stopping this stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to try to abolish it, which I think historically, whether it's nations or communities or households, that's wrong. You can constrain it somehow, right?
Yep.
And I'm not saying that can't be short term way, like preventing some kid from having a cell phone or
Yep.
you're this age before you can drive or whatever, but or you can embrace it and just try to utilize it in a respectful way.
Yeah,
So
and work with it, right? Work within it, and come up with creative ways to work within it. I'm of the same opinion. I You're not stopping it. That's clear. That is clear. But it's gonna definitely have its impacts, and then I was talking today. We were talking about how the Henry Ford created the with the assembly line and vehicles and but that saved on a lot of labor. But one of the things that the conversation we were having is, okay, if we have some of these industries severely impacted by this and these jobs are lost and they're lost at a high rate, um, people don't have jobs, and that might sound like, well, if I have a job, who cares? Well, everyone should care, because if we've got a bunch of people out of work and unemployed, there's clearly consequences of that for everyone. Not the least of which is, if you're a business owner and you don't have anybody with any income, then they can't buy your product and service, and then soon they have to start letting their people go, right? So, I've got to I can't continue to employ people if I'm not selling my products and services. So it just snowballs, and before you know it, you have mass unemployment. And so we got in the conversation of universal basic income. Does that become a thing? I think it was Elon Musk I heard recently talking about how he thinks, he didn't describe how long of a period, but it sounded like you know not too long, that that most of the jobs, most he used the word most, I believe, will be done by computers and machines, and there will have to be something like a universal basic income, otherwise we've got tremendous social problems.
so what are we all just get a job back in the mines?
Well, what do we do?
I think we all become miners and we're just mining the special materials we need for all our high tech products and our robots. So we
What
go mines so our robot can have parts to feed us at home. I don't know.
what do you do? What would you do if you, not that if you didn't have a job, if you weren't even able to have a job because it's all being done by machines? Like, what do you do?
I feel like there's always going to be a need for communication and people, but I don't know if that's the case. Like Do we even stay around? Do we become like the little worker bees or something?
Yeah.
I
Well,
have no idea.
I was like, well, what would I do if I didn't have to do anything and all my needs were met? You know, I want to contribute to other people some way, right? That's what I think I would want to do. I would want to contribute, but what am I contributing to? Because everything's being, you know, it's like, let's say I was passionate about investing, right? Helping people invest
Right.
for the future. There's no market for that anymore. Nobody has an investment anymore. Everything's being done by machines, and now you don't have a retirement. You don't have everything's provided by by the government due to the output of these machines. Um, Nothing's left. I don't know where you go. I guess you play video games and sports.
We think that way and you think that way, but 3, 4 generations in, do people stop thinking that way?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, the goals of somebody in 1776 versus 1820 versus 1865 versus
I
eight, you
get
know
where
what
you're
I
going.
mean?
Yeah, I get where you're
So
going. Yeah,
again, we have perspective of the way it was. So 3, 4 generations in, their
yeah.
perspective is going to be completely skewed. I just did a lesson on politics with the kids, and we never really go over any names. We just go over the parties. Like there's left and right, but there's also libertarian and authoritarian.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the left wants to give you freedom for personal issues, but not freedom for economic issues. The right gives you freedom for economic issues, but not freedom for personal issues. And both sides just spar over who's giving you more freedom, but it really depends, right?
Yeah, sure.
And with Jefferson and Hamilton, it was the other way around. It was just government control versus freedom. But I give examples of how that the goal is to take your radical thought and make 2/3 of the country agree with it. So at one point, like 4% of America believed in interracial marriage. Now it's 93%.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's just the norm now, but it
Right.
wasn't at one time.
Right.
Smoking marijuana was like 12% of people in the 50s. And now obviously it's hit that once it hits the 2/3 point, I think it's up to like 71% of the country's okay with it. Now it's the norm. So there's
Well,
no other perspective. It's just going to happen, you know? And I think that'll happen with the LGBT stuff. And so that's the real power of political parties, of AI, of technology is that you take your idea and you make 2/3 of the country think it's the norm. And now that's the new perspective, or as they say, the new norm, right?
okay.
Like next time there's a virus, is 2/3 of the country just going to get a vaccination, or are they going to say no? Like we don't know.
Right,
Well,
right, right,
just
right.
see what happens next time. I don't know. You
Yeah.
know,
Let's hope it's a long time away. But
I know.
no, that's interesting. That's interesting. The new norm piece of that. Paul, when you say that 2/3, where is that where's that number coming from?
So I joke with the kids. So the standard deviation curve for math, right? You have 2%, 2%, then I think 14%, 14%, and then 68% is the bell of the curve.
Uh,
So any issue, there's probably 2% on each side that would fight to the death over the issue. You know, I told them drug legalization. There's probably 2% of the country that says smoke it if you got it. If it's legal, have it, or if you have it, use it. 14% would be the yeah, buts, yeah, but okay, that's great for this and that medicine, but you
okay.
can't have LSD. 2/3 of the country are into, yeah, or probably marijuana now, alcohol, tobacco. Then you get on the right side where there's people that start wanting that banned. And then the far right would be all drugs, even for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
So how do you get your viewpoint to be the bell of the bell curve? And I tell the kids, math teachers steal this curve from me and they start laughing. But that's where I come up with I teach them that's how you can argue any topic in the world. I go with your friends, try taking an opposing point of view and just figure out where's the world at. Are we at the 2%, 14 on the left, 68 or 14 on the right, or 2%? And you can argue anybody about anything just because you'll know where they stand and you
Yeah.
know where society stands. And we just know, I mean, when we were kids, 94 rock, like instead of a swear word, you'd actually hear a beep, right? Then they just blank it out. Now you hear half the word, if not all the word, because of the streaming services. So there's something that used to be such a
Huh.
weird social norm, and now it's just normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there were parental warnings on the CD covers or the
Yeah.
right, and that was a big
Yep.
political issue from the right,
Yeah.
of censoring that or whatever it might be. So yeah, no, that resonates with me.
Yeah.
I've never given that any thought.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, uh, the Jeffersons, that sitcom was on, and I had
Yeah.
a friend whose parents wouldn't let him watch it because there was a white guy married to a black girl.
Oh my God, no kidding.
Yeah, and of course, then you have the first male and male kiss on TV. Like it just
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Those
so
things
I,
evolve. Yeah,
so all right, we're
definitely.
we're gonna end. We've gone from talking about unhappy people to Cam F. Awesome and lifting others up to the future of AI and solving political arguments, all in 30 minutes. Like I don't know why we have to do another episode.
I don't know why we don't talk more.
We'll be on The Voice next week, probably. I think that's what's going to happen.
It's natural next step, I guess. But
Hey, thanks for your patience. We will see you next week. We got the big 100th episode.
yeah, can't wait.
All right. Hey, see you, Matt.
All right, see ya.
Bye.